two of my workbench accessories, I should say. This is a planing stop that I've developed recently. It's portable between two workbenches, and it plugs into my existing dog holes. So it's very convenient and versatile, and it locks in, and so it's a little bit of an adjustment to, I'll just demonstrate this, and both a 4.5 plane, a bench plane smoother that I normally work with, and I've just actually honed the blade on this. And then I'll demonstrate it using a wooden hand plane that I've created several years ago, more than several years ago. So, or wispy thin now. There's almost like a linen, and that's what I'm striving for. I like super thin shavings for different reasons. It allows me to, because the shavings are so thin, there's less effort in actually pushing the plane, and I can attain a smooth finish. I removed the shavings from the well, that's really nice now. Workbench accessory, and use a bird's mouth. And the bird's mouth is another plug-in workbench accessory with the same similar system of two dowels. And what it does is it allows me to lock in a board on edge, unless it's fastened in a vise. So this isn't a good example, but of a very difficult board to hand plane on edge. So if we lock it in here, and before we do that, we confirm that the grain is aligned correctly, and then so we're always trying to hand plane in the direction of the grain, so the grain should be rising in the direction that we're actually hand planing. So this is an example here, rising towards the top. So that's where we're hand planing. Now the thing is, I normally don't use a plane this large for this. What I'll do is I'll shift to that's a fairly heavy shaving there. We're getting there. You can easily set up a plug-in workbench accessory like this and work with that as opposed to using it. So again, I'll demonstrate it. You'll have two views of me now. The smaller inset in the lower right is myself in the main view, and then I have a more detailed view. More of a. What I could also do is do the setup with the workbench accessory, locked in with the piece with the wedges, and also demonstrate the same process using a wooden hand plane. Now this is a little. I had sharpened this gently. It's a little large for this, but I just want to. You know what I'll do is I'll remove this. Remove this appliance accessory and plug this back in. Work with this piece. So this piece butts against the planing stop that I was discussing earlier, and I'll use the wooden hand plane now. So I'll put this over, make some room for myself. I've actually just finished adjusting this wooden hand plane, and I use a small brass planing hammer with a wood inset. So it's not as necessary to lubricate the sole on a wooden hand plane as much as a metal one, because it naturally has lubricating qualities. on the wood, but I do it anyway. So you can see the shavings. They're not quite as thin as I would like, but they're full width, and so not quite as wispy as the as the metal body hand plane. But I need to the adjustment on the wooden hand plane is a little more sensitive. So to back it off, I tap the back. That's a little better. Working with wooden hand planes is a little different than metal bodied hand planes, but there are some advantages. They're lighter. I wouldn't say lighter, but they just work so much better because it's wood against wood as opposed to metal against wood. I like for the blade not to touch the surface of the workbench, so they're usually rested on the front, on the leading edge of the plane. This camera angle. So this is what So normally, just give you an idea. I run this along and I look for any gaps on either side of the edge. That summarizes what how I normally hand plane on a workbench if I'm not using a face vise.